Hi everyone, Dr. Angela here with you. Welcome back to Pretty Well. The topic of this video is self-care. So what makes self-care go well and what makes self-care difficult? I think this is a really important topic because I have been watching many patients that I work with over the years, and there's some interesting patterns that show up over and over again. I've also watched myself over the years as I've learned many things, and it's interesting that our behavior isn't always rational as humans. And so, the very first thing I'd say is for all of us, if we're working on certain healthcare goals, to figure out what those are, and then to figure out how we might best move in that direction. And so information is really the first step. And so that looks like getting a great team together that you feel serves you really well, that you feel really comfortable with. If you're looking for a naturopathic doctor, calnd.org is a great resource for doctors in California. Naturopathic.org if you're looking for a naturopathic doctor anywhere else in the US. There's also other, wonderful integrative medicine doctors of all kinds, acupuncturists, chiropractors, integrative medical doctors, osteopathic doctors who can really be wonderful allies for you on the journey to wellness. So information is step one. But what happens when often we know what we should be doing or what would be really helpful for us to be doing to continue to move in the direction of better health, and we seem to have a hard time integrating some of those behaviors or practices? What is that about? So this is a place where spending some time with yourself, spending some time reviewing and just noticing what comes up for you. I have noticed working with people over the years that oftentimes it's that we're having a bunch of feelings. So sometimes there is some depression, sometimes there's some anxiety, sometimes there's high stress. And, in the areas of things like food, often many of us use food to soothe our emotions. And so that can be, a really difficult one if there's certain foods that would support our health, but because of an emotional curveball, we're craving other foods that maybe are not so supportive of our health. Some of the other patterns that I see come up very often is that, we're all so busy, we're working so many hours, and it becomes very difficult to prioritize how to get all these things in during the day. There's work that calls on many of us. Many of us have children or family members who need care, or friends who need care, or spouses. And so many of us have these patterns where it's much easier to take care of other people than it is to show up for ourselves. So in that case, figuring out which strategies work best for you to be able to be victorious over all of the other things that pull at our time. And so for some people, that will mean scheduling things in for themselves, whether it's exercise or meditation, working on taking a look at our weeks and figuring out where we might do more pre-planning. So for some people, it's helpful with things like supplements if they have a lunch bag or some kind of a tote bag where they just carry things with them, or that they prep their supplements for the week so that they easily go, to work or wherever with you. Food is another area, if we're going to be packing lunch, prepping foods so that they're easy to grab and take along with us. If we're going to be ordering foods, figuring out where there are healthy restaurants and natural food stores in the community that we can very easily, access things from. The other thing is looking at our schedules and making sure we're doing things very regularly. I know I personally have been very guilty of skipping meals or not eating enough throughout the day when I'm really busy. I get really focused on work, and then can forget to get regular food in, which isn't so good for me. And I know a lot of us have these kind of patterns. So it's not just are we eating healthy foods, it's are we eating at healthy intervals to make sure that we're supporting the well-being of our bodies. Exercise is another area where many of us struggle to get adequate movement in. We sit a lot for many of our jobs. And so again, taking a look at our schedules, thinking about who we are as people, when is it going to be easiest to integrate a lot of these patterns and habits and lifestyle choices? Because what I do know as a doc is that when things feel hard or not fun, it's very difficult to integrate a long-term plan in that we're gonna be able to sustain, because as humans, it's perfectly normal to want to go in the direction of desire and pleasure. So we want to make sure that when we're thinking about our healthcare goals, that we're doing things that are going to be fun and that we're certainly going to see results from, but we also want to have fun in the process and have joy and lightness in the process, because if things feel very hard or boring or difficult, we're not going to want to do them long term. So those are some things to think about. Sleep is another really important one. I know many of us don't get enough sleep because there's just so many things to do. Sometimes it's difficult to get ourselves in bed. Sometimes we're so stressed out that once we're in bed, we can't fall asleep or stay asleep. So, definitely working with your team of great docs and healthcare professionals to help resolve any physiologic issues that might get in the way of certain things like sleep, but then also to really work on the lifestyle patterns that get in the way of us prioritizing ourselves. Some of the strategies that I have used over the years for myself, which have been so helpful, are to also talk to some of my really trusted friends and let them know these are areas that I'm working on, and to just give little updates as I am succeeding and as I am struggling, so that I can look at those areas with my trusted beloveds around what's happening. Are there a bunch of feelings like, why am I dropping out, or why am I not following through with things that I know would be good for me? So I hope these thoughts help you as you think about prioritizing yourself and your wellness. For those of you who have had victories in integrating healthy self-care practices, please share what you've done, what's been helpful, what has maybe been a struggle, if you're comfortable sharing those things, so that we can all learn together. I'm going to put some resources in the description box in case those things are useful for you. I always love to read different books and listen to different books on different topics to help me think about things from all angles. And if any of you are interested in the psychology area of why it's sometimes difficult for us to do great self-care, I have been reading and rereading actually a book that I had picked up many years ago called Emotional Sobriety. That's a fantastic book by Dr. Tian Dayton, and it really focuses in on the regular self-care and the things that we need to do and learn in order to be successful in the daily habit of self-care. And as always, just remember that there are lots of roads to healing, and there's no right or wrong way. There is what is good for you and what works for you. This is just meant to help you think about what those things are, what those directions might be, to put attention on taking even better care of yourself. So with that, I'm going to sign off for this week, and I look forward to seeing everybody back here next week and hearing all of the great comments and shares. See you back here soon. Take good care.